September 1907. Vienna, Austria. The Academy of Fine Arts. 112 young men arrived to take the entrance examination. Among them, an 18-year-old from Linz with slicked-back dark hair and intense eyes. His name is Adolf Hitler. He's carrying a portfolio of drawings. His best work, architectural sketches, landscapes, a few human figures. He's supremely confident. In his later autobiography, he'll write, "I had set out with a pile of drawings, convinced that it would be child's play to pass the examination." The Academy of Fine Arts Vienna is one of the most prestigious art schools in Europe, founded in 1692. Over 2 centuries of producing master artists. Getting accepted here means everything. It means validation. It means a future. It means being part of the elite artistic tradition of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. The admission process has 2 stages. First, the committee reviews sample work from each candidate's portfolio. Out of 112 applicants, they'll select maybe 80 for the second round. Hitler makes the first cut. His drawings pass initial review. He's one of the 79 candidates advancing to the second stage. The second stage requires candidates to complete 2 assigned drawings in timed sessions, 3 hours each, biblical or classical scenes. Then the committee makes their final decision. 28 candidates will be accepted. 51 will be rejected. Adolf Hitler is one of the rejected. The committee's assessment is brief, brutal, written in the margins of his application, "Sample drawing unsatisfactory." That's it. No encouragement, no suggestions, no second chance. Just 3 words that will change the course of human history. Before we dive into what happened next, drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from. And if you're enjoying these deep dives into real history stories, hit that subscribe button. Adolf Hitler was born April 20th, 1889 in Braunau am Inn, a small Austrian town near the German border. His father, Alois, was a customs official, strict, authoritarian, reportedly abusive. His mother, Clara, was gentle, doting. She indulged young Adolf's every whim. Hitler's childhood was unremarkable, except for one thing. He could draw. From an early age, he showed artistic talent. He sketched constantly. Buildings, landscapes, animals. By his teenage years, he'd convinced himself he was destined for greatness as an artist. Not just any artist. A great master, someone who'd be remembered for centuries. In 1903, Hitler's father died. Adolf dropped out of high school the following year at age 16. For the next 3 years, he lived in Linz doing absolutely nothing. His mother supported him financially. She urged him to learn a trade, get a job, do something productive. Hitler refused. The idea of daily work with its necessary submission to authority was revolting to him. He spent his days reading, drawing, going to the opera, dreaming of becoming a famous artist. His mother called it parasitic idleness. Hitler called it preparing for his destiny. In early 1907, Hitler's mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. The prognosis was terminal. Hitler decided this was the perfect time to leave home and pursue his dreams in Vienna. His mother gave him money, benefits from his father's death, enough to fund his artistic ambitions. Vienna in 1907 was the cultural capital of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. 2 million people, grand architecture, world-class museums, the center of European art and music. Every aspiring artist wanted to be there. Hitler was immediately entranced. This was where real artists lived, where reputations were made, where genius was recognized. Hitler found lodging and prepared for the Academy entrance exam. He was convinced acceptance was guaranteed. Why wouldn't they accept him? He could draw. He had talent. He worked hard on his portfolio. Years later, in Mein Kampf, Hitler claimed that the rejection struck him as a bolt from the blue, as he had been so convinced of his success. The committee thought differently. They looked at his drawings and saw technical competence. Nothing more. It was noted that Hitler's works contained too few heads. His human figures were stiff, lifeless. His architectural drawings showed skill, but no originality, no creativity, no artistic vision, just copying. One sympathetic instructor told him he should apply to the School of Architecture instead. but that required completing secondary school. Hitler had dropped out years ago. He'd have to return, finish his education, then reapply. Hitler refused. Going back to high school was beneath him. He was an artist, not a student. Hitler told no one about the rejection, not his roommate, August Kubizek, not his friends in Linz, not his dying mother. He couldn't admit failure. Instead, he returned to Linz in October 1907 and stayed with his mother through her final months. She died a few months later in December. The Jewish family doctor, Eduard Bloch, later recalled that he'd never seen anyone so devastated by a death. Hitler was inconsolable. He'd lost his mother and his dreams in the same year. After the funeral, Hitler moved permanently to Vienna in February 1908. This time, he didn't tell anyone about his plans. He just disappeared. In September 1908, Hitler tried again. He returned to the Academy of Fine Arts for the entrance exam. This time, the committee didn't even let him into the first round. They reviewed his portfolio and rejected him immediately. This ended his last and best chance of getting into the Academy of Fine Arts. 2 rejections, 2 years. His artistic dreams were over. What happens next reveals Hitler's character. A normal person might accept reality, find another path, get a job, learn a trade, move on. Hitler did none of these things. He pretended the rejections never happened. He lied to everyone, told people he was studying at the academy, told his landlord he was an art student, even told his roommate Kubizek that he'd been accepted. But reality had other plans. Hitler ran out of money. By late 1909, he couldn't pay rent. He became homeless and abruptly broke off his friendship with Gustl for an unknown reason. Perhaps, as with his mother, he was too embarrassed and distraught to admit that he was an artistic failure. For the next year, Hitler lived in homeless shelters. He slept in flophouses. He stood in bread lines. He painted postcards and small watercolors of Vienna's landmarks and sold them to tourists and frame shops. While at a homeless shelter, 1909 to 1910, Hitler became friends with fellow vagrant Reinhold Hannisch, who sold Hitler's paintings for him. The arrangement worked until Hitler accused Hannisch of cheating him. They had a falling out. Hitler continued alone. During these years in Vienna, something changed in Hitler. His worldview darkened. He became increasingly bitter, resentful, paranoid. Later, in Mein Kampf, Hitler claimed this was when his anti-Semitism developed. But historians doubt this. Samuel Morgenstern, a Jewish store owner, was one of the most loyal buyers of Hitler's paintings in Vienna. Hitler had no problem doing business with Jews when it benefited him. His friend Reinhold Hannisch later wrote, "Adolf often said that it was only with the Jews that one could do business because only they were willing to take chances." The anti-Semitism came later. But the bitterness? That was real. In May 1913, Hitler moved to Munich, Germany, partly to escape Austrian military service, partly for a fresh start. He continued selling paintings, made a modest living. Then came August 1914, World War I. Hitler enlisted immediately in the Bavarian army. Finally, he had purpose. Finally, he belonged to something larger than himself. He served as a messenger on the Western Front, was wounded twice, received the Iron Cross. When Germany surrendered in November 1918, Hitler was devastated. He couldn't accept defeat. He needed someone to blame: Jews, communists, traitors, anyone but Germany itself. In 1919, Hitler joined a tiny political party in Munich, the German Workers' Party, 25 members. He became member number 555. They started numbering at 500 to seem larger. He discovered he had a talent for public speaking, for propaganda, for manipulating crowds. Within 2 years, he'd taken control of the party and renamed it the National Socialist German Workers' Party. The Nazis. The rest is history. The worst history. By 1933, Hitler was Chancellor of Germany. By 1939, he'd started World War II. By 1945, 50 million people were dead. The Holocaust had killed 6 million Jews. Europe was in ruins. and the failed artist from Vienna had become the greatest mass murderer in human history. But Hitler never forgot his artistic dreams. Throughout his political career, he continued to see himself as an artist first. In conversations with Albert Speer, his architect, Hitler would spend hours discussing building designs and city planning. In 1936, after becoming Führer, Hitler appointed Ernst Schulte Strathaus to locate and buy paintings Hitler had painted from 1907 to 1912 and 1921 to 1922. He allegedly had many of them destroyed, ashamed of his early failures. In 1937, Hitler organized the Degenerate Art Exhibition in Munich. 16,000 works of modern art confiscated from German museums, displayed with contempt, intended to mock modern artists. 2 million people attended. Hitler hated modern art because it represented everything the Vienna Academy valued and he could never achieve. In April 1945, trapped in his Berlin bunker as Soviet armies closed in, Hitler reflected on his life. He told his secretaries, "All my life I have wanted to be a great painter in oils. I feel that I have it in my soul to become one of the great artists of the age, and that future historians will remember me not for what I have done for Germany, but for my art." He was delusional. On April 30th, 1945, Hitler committed suicide. His last words echoed the Roman Emperor Nero. "What an artist dies in me." He wanted to be remembered as an artist. Instead, he's remembered as the architect of genocide, the man who started the deadliest war in history, the embodiment of evil. So let's answer the question everyone asks: could Hitler actually paint? Art historians have examined his work. The consensus: technically competent but emotionally empty. His works contained too few heads. He struggled to draw people. His architectural drawings showed draftsmanship but no creativity. American journalist John Gunther, after seeing Hitler's Academy submissions, wrote, "They are prosaic, utterly devoid of rhythm, color, feeling, or spiritual imagination. They are architect's sketches, painful and precise draftsmanship, nothing more." The Vienna Academy was right to reject him. He wasn't good enough. But was the world wrong to reject him so completely? That's the haunting question. Because rejection doesn't automatically create monsters. Millions of people face rejection and don't commit genocide. So what made Hitler different? Multiple factors: narcissism, grandiosity, inability to accept failure, paranoia, but also timing, historical circumstances, the Treaty of Versailles, the Great Depression, Germany's economic collapse, political instability. Hitler didn't create those conditions. He exploited them. The rejection by the Vienna Academy didn't cause World War II, but it did shape Hitler's psychology, his resentment, his sense of being misunderstood and undervalued, his need to prove the world wrong, to force recognition, to achieve greatness through power since he couldn't achieve it through art. The ultimate what if haunts historians. What if the Vienna Academy had accepted Hitler in 1907? Would he have become a mediocre painter? Would he have faded into obscurity? Would World War II never have happened? We can't know. History doesn't offer do-overs. But we can learn something. Rejection reveals character. How you respond to failure matters more than the failure itself. Hitler responded with bitterness, resentment, and ultimately genocidal rage. That choice was his, not the Academy's, not Vienna's, his. September 1907. An 18-year-old walks out of the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts with 3 words written on his application: sample drawing unsatisfactory. He doesn't know it yet, but that rejection will define him, not because it crushed his dreams, but because he never let it go, never accepted it, never moved beyond it. And that inability to move beyond rejection will kill 75 million people. The failed artist became history's greatest monster, not because he couldn't paint, but because he couldn't accept that he couldn't paint. If this story made you think, hit that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment below. What would the world look like if Hitler had been accepted to art school? Thanks for watching.